Let's look at another example of using this Bluetooth LE component, because with the proliferation of devices, gadgets, wearables, and the Internet of Things, we as developers, we need to learn how to connect our existing and new multi-device applications to Bluetooth low energy devices. So let's look at how to get temperature, humidity, and accelerometer data from a Bluetooth LE device. So for this example, I'm going to be using this Texas Instruments CC2541 microcontroller. It's a power optimized true system on a chip solution for both Bluetooth low energy and proprietary 2.4 gigahertz applications. And only for about $25 US, you can purchase from Texas Instruments their Simple Link sensor tag that has the microcontroller with 6 different sensors. So you can use this for temperature, humidity, pressure, accelerometer, gyroscope, and a magnetometer. So for this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to get data from the temperature, humidity, and accelerometer sensors. So here's the app running on an iOS device. Now when the Bluetooth LE device is on, it starts to advertise the services it offers. So if I click on the Find Devices button, it will scan for a few seconds looking for Bluetooth LE devices. And if it finds our sensor tag, like it did right here, I can select it. And then I can click Subscribe to Data. Now when I click Subscribe to Data, this tells the device that we are ready to receive all the data that we are requesting. So for this example, we are looking for the ambient and target temperature, the humidity, and any accelerometer data. So for example, we could use the accelerometer data to let us know if the patient is moving inside of the room. So similar as we did with the heart rate monitor, if we wanted to monitor the patient's high temperature, we could check to see if the target temperature is above normal body temperature. So let's say between 36.5 degrees Celsius to 37.2 degrees Celsius for a healthy adult. Here's the app in RAD Studio XE7, and looking at the code, we see we are using the Bluetooth LE component that does all the work for us. It has great methods for discovering devices and their services and characteristics. You can read and write data from the characteristics using this Bluetooth LE component and subscribe to the data. It has these great events that we can use. So for example, the on-end discover devices event. When we call our discovered devices with a timeout, at the end of the timeout, this on-end discovered devices event gets fired, and we get a list of discovered Bluetooth devices. And then usually the next event after the on-end discovered devices is to call the on-end discover services, and that will give us a list of services for the device that we selected. The on characteristics read event gets fired each time a device is sent to us, and the on characteristic read request event is when we are implementing a GATT service. Same with the characteristic write and characteristic write request. When we click on the Find Devices button, we start the discovery process by calling the Bluetooth LE Discover Devices method. We scan, in this case for 4 seconds, looking for Bluetooth devices. And at the end of this 4 seconds, then the on-end discover devices event gets fired. And on the on-end discover devices event, here we are storing the name of the device that we want to discover. So in our case, we want to find a device named sensor tag. And when we read from its documentation, the device name can be a different name on different operating systems. So once we have the sensor tag, we add it to our list box. We select the sensor tag from the list box, and then we click on Subscribe to Data. And here's where we call the Bluetooth LE Discover Services method with the current device that we just selected. This causes the on-end discover services event to be fired. And here is where we scan for all the services that we find. And if the services are the ones we want, like the temperature service, humidity service, and the accelerometer service, we can get their data. Now, looking at the documentation for the sensor tag, we do some operations in order to receive the data. So for example, for the temperature service, the documentation says we need to find this characteristic called UUID IRT-CONF. And once we find it, we set the value of the characteristic to 1, and then we can call the BluetoothLE write characteristic method to write this value to the device. And that tells the device to start sending the data of the temperature service, both the ambient and the target temperature. We do the same operations for the humidity service and for the accelerometer service. So we scan the services, searching for services by its UUID name, and then from its documentation we need to find the characteristics. So for example, for the accelerometer service, we need to find its characteristic, and then we set its characteristic value to 1, and then we write this value to the device by calling the write characteristic method of the BluetoothLE component. And this makes the device, our sensor tag, start sending data to us. And then the on characteristic read event gets fired, and here is where we can filter the data and translate the values that the device is sending to us. Reading the documentation on the sensor tag, we can see how we can translate the data into the real data that we will be displaying on the user interface. So for example, to get the ambient temperature, we can see the calculation here. So we do the same for the humidity and the accelerometer. And that's how you can use RAD Studio XE7 and the new BluetoothLE component to get temperature, humidity, and accelerometer data from a BluetoothLE sensor.